Oh well, we're back for some Bleach Soul Resonance, and it's about that time, isn't it? I think it is. We've had nearly a week to sort of sit on Grimmjow as a character and his effects on the team building aspect of the game, characters like Soi Fon and so on. And after doing some testing, after waiting to get his bond, actually, yeah, we are actually almost exactly on a week, so there we go, 5 hours from 14 days remaining. And after getting his bond and the like, testing him out and seeing the improvements there, I think it's time we gather our thoughts on Grimmjow and what he is doing to the game and other characters. So here we have our big list of guys and girls, and Grimmjow down here. I'm just gonna go ahead and move him all the way up to like right here. Yeah, I think so. I don't think it surprises anyone, you know, without having to like belabor the point and sit on it too long. I think Grimmjow is just fantastic. Reminder that my lists always concern B0 to B2. I don't care what a character does at B4. I don't care what a character does at B6. That's just not where we're operating in this game if you're free to play or low spending. Predominantly, I gear my content towards free to play, so B0 to B2 is where I expect you to be able to get your characters by and large. And when I think of Grimmjow, I think of a pretty solid, and oh my god, I hit my capture. There we go. I think of a pretty solid B0 to B2 character. This is no surprise. I think he just has a lot of power in his B1 especially. His B2 is good as well, but I just think that this is such a dominant increase. Getting this to 10 and essentially just always having it up, right? Yeah, I just very powerful. Obviously, if you want to go into higher levels, higher dupes, you want to see someone else rank these characters, you know, have someone else talk about the B6s, B4s, that's up to you. But the reason characters like Aizen might move down on my list is because I'm not talking about Aizen at B4, I'm not talking about Aizen at B6, and so on and so forth, whereas Nellel, I am talking about her at B2. So please remember that, go forward with that in mind, because it is extremely important. So let's continue to sort of suss out the various holes in the game that have been opened up by Grimmjow, the Mr. Pentetta's claws. First and foremost, I think this character goes like right up here. All right, I mean maybe even higher, but I'll say right here for now because I do really like Gin. I do really like Gin, but honestly, it's just so strong. I do really like strong. Like I think she does deserve to sort of be in that top tier of support now. One of the reasons I put like characters, I delineate that, like, you know, support gods versus other characters is just supports are just too strong, right? They're just like they're the reason the game works. With that in mind though, and I think people could hate me for this. I've been thinking about the B0 to B2 fight, and Mayuri just moves up, doesn't he? Because now, not only is he Giga supporting Grimmjow, but he's Giga supporting the Thrust team. That gives him like an edge over Nellel to me, right? I also do think that Soi Fon is doing more for her team than Zael is doing for Spirit, even though he is doing a lot for Spirit, obviously. But do I think that Nellel goes like up here? I mean, I could see it, certainly. I do think that I want to move Kenpachi up one, because I do think that, like, even though Yodahara is a support, I should just go one by one. I should go one by one, just to go down the list really quickly and think about what, like, look at what I think of the game currently. But yeah, let's go one by one and we'll talk about this like in more detail. Okay, so I did a pause and configured some things, and reminder, this is going from a free to play to B2 lens, so a very much a like, who would I prioritize as someone who is building an account, who is re-rolling an account with very limited funds. And I think this is what I've landed on, and this is gonna get really controversial, but I think Mayuri is like literally the best value character in the game. This character is necessary, completely necessary on the top 2 to 3 teams in the game. He could still go on the third one, which would be Spirit right now with solo DPS Aizen. But solo DPS Aizen is not a character that we're going to take into account when we're talking about B0 to B2, because he needs his B4 to really be the solo DPS character. I would say that you could probably do it with B1, maybe you could do it with B2, but if we're being realistic, if we're being honest, like, to ourselves, and we're talking about B0 to B2, Aizen isn't really able to reach his full potential by himself. So at B1, I do think that this character could DPS, like, pretty fine, but not to the same level as the characters around him at B1. Because of that, and because this, you know, like I said, this account typically veers towards a more free-to-play, low-spending, you know, lens, Mayuri's value is just crazy, is it not? Because if we consider B0 to B2 only, then the best team in the game isn't a solo DPS Aizen. The best team in the game obviously becomes, like, Strike Team, followed closely by, like, or actually, it probably becomes the Thrust Team as a full team, followed closely by the Strike Team, and then followed thirdly by something like this, especially if you've got the B1 Aizen. But that's just how that goes. In this case, though, is Mayuri not just insane? Because he completely opens up this realm for both the Thrust and Strike teams. I think so. I mean, I want to say that with, like, a certainty, but I'm pretty sure this character is just, like, non-optional. I'm pretty sure this character is, like, completely broken for, like, free-to-play, low-spending accounts. Next, we got Nelel. Nelel I just see as the queen of sub-DPS at B0 to B2. It's just really how it goes. While I do think that the Aizen and Soi Fon spots, I mean, I don't really have much to say about Nelel other than her B2 is insane. I do think this spot is more, like, contested here. But I do think that the reason I'm going to just leave Aizen here is because I think that his total competency with the rest of the cast is much higher. Obviously, Soi Fon is not a Swiss Army knife like Aizen is, and if you're making if you're re-rolling an account, if you're, you know, rolling on a new account, if you're deciding where to put your resources, B1 Soi Fon is really only going to help Grimmjow. And while that is a great thing, because Grimmjow is obviously the strongest, like, low level DPS or low boundary DPS in the game, I don't really think that brings Soi Fon over the top so much as it's like you'd still want, like, a B1 Aizen helps out your slash team right now, helps out your spirit team, it can help out your thrust team, like with him and Gin. Like, it just sort of is what it is, so that's why I'm going to just leave her there. Zael fills up the last slot because while very powerful, he's just the least necessary of the supports due to having essentially the one team that he really excels on, and then being sort of a generalist otherwise. I mean, he's Urahara, but a bit better on non-spirit teams, right? So he gets to be up here because he is that, but also amazing on the team that has Aizen. So he gets to be up here. Then we're followed by Grimmjow. So Grimmjow needs one dupe if we're really pushing it. Otherwise, he's insanely powerful at B0, especially once you learn his rotations. I know people wanted this character, like, buffed or whatever. No. No. I guess they could. I'll take the 100 Jade for, you know, buffing a character, but beyond that, I don't really want to be convinced that, like, one, people have been saying that, like, every character's been buffed post-release. Nah, that hasn't happened. I would also say that the buffs that Soi Fon got did not matter. They were essentially quality of life buffs. I mean, you could say in the most abstract sense that she did get buffed, but to say every character got buffed, oh, every character just comes out broken and bugged and needs buffs, and you're saying that, like, Soi Fon and Kenpachi got the same treatment, it's like, come on, you're disingenuous. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think Grimmjow needs it, really. I mean, if you want power creep to rule this game, sure, but I think being stronger than the other characters and looking better than every other character is half anniversary worthy. Then we have Gin. Gin, it continues to be the absolute shredder, mostly because on his best team, which is himself, Nelel and Mayuri, he just is on the best rounded team. I mean, Mayuri and Nelel, I think at B0 to B2 are the best complete characters in the game, probably. you just get so much out of their support. I mean, they combined at B2, they combined to give you like a 200% crit damage if you apply an ailment. And that can go up, right? Because I don't even have the full core stamp here. So how much does it go up from here? Does it give you 160%? So together they give you like 240% crit damage or something, if I'm not wrong. Like maybe I'm crazy, but pretty good. So yeah, I just think that like Gin utilizes this shell the best, so he will never really leave. That said, because he is a character that requires these other two, like I don't think that character gets much value out of being mixed and matched. Whereas I do think that like because Grimmjow is so strong, even if he doesn't have Mayuri, he could put up a decent showing with someone like Urahara. Whereas I don't know, I think outside of literally B2 Nelel and Mayuri with core stamp dupes, you know what I mean? Like I think Gin is looks much worse than Grimmjow in that way. Then we go into Toshido. Toshido I'm going to leave here because I do think that his buffs make him notable enough. And I do think that the Slash team is just so meager right now. I mean, they have not done anything to Slash that has been worth talking about. So in that case, Toshido takes up a big spot. Without dupes, it's not like he's doing like obtuse crazy damage. But with his combination of his crit rate on his weapon, if you do get the dupes on crit rate, like on Boundary 2 and get that 40% crit rate, you could swap him onto a crit damage build for this stamp. And I think he does just sort of like explode from there, but he does need it, right? He does need it because right now I'm rocking like a 70% crit rate, and that's not enough. That's not enough. Especially if you're to take away 32% or 30 or 27% of that crit rate, 32% maximum when you actually get this level 30, right? So there is that. I think this character is very good, but there is a problem. And Slash comes in at the end. What a weird time to be in, where Slash is arguably, I mean, inarguably actually, just objectively the worst team in the game. Because Strike was that for so long, and Strike just, even after Soi Fon released, I'd say Strike was in a weird spot. Just because, you know, it lacks the supports, it lacked the DPS, so on and so forth. But even at B2, it's just that Kenpachi's team is not getting over the hill. I mean, you come over, and no team is without a solid limited SSR pairing, except Kenpachi. This also is relevant in the case of Bankai Ichigo. But yeah, Kenpachi is just alone. No one else here was made with him in mind. He can use Mayuri, but it's not really the same. He can use Kenpachi, but he kind of has to. He could use Nalel, but it's not really the same. You know what I mean? Like, he could use Zael because Zael has universal support. It's not really the same. So on and so forth. I mean, it's just... It is what it is, right? Just not a character who has had a great run of it post his release. Extremely strong on release. Still extremely strong in a vacuum. If you just look at core mechanics, if you look at the core mechanics of what made Kenpachi good in the immediate, he still has all those things. A swap monster who's able to stay on field if you really need him to with his basic attacks. A character who has super powerful mechanics, as well as a weapon stamp that essentially carries his damage, meaning you don't have to go to super high dupe levels to get the most out of him. You could actually go to the much more reserved 40 stamp requirement, sort of like a banner threshold to get his weapon stamp and really boost his damage. Not too hard to build, but with options that open up the moment you get his B2. But yeah, in the long term, in the sort of immediate, he just does not have the allies. Like I said, he just does not have the pairings, the shell. Every other character has a shell. Nelel and Mayuri make up the thrust team. Soi Fon makes and Mayuri make up the strike team. Aizen and Zael make up the spirit team, and who makes up the slash team? This character plus Urahara. I mean, I I guess, you know what I mean? Like, it's not enough. It's not enough. But yeah, I think we'll go with that for now. Again, a little controversial, I think, if we're talking free-to-plays and low spendings. I definitely don't think that most people are going to come in here and expect this to be the, like, you know, this to be what they see. But I think this is where I'm landing. I think this is where I'm landing. I did kind of want to do this, because if we're talking B1, B2, but I just think that Soi Fon is really, really stuck in her team. She cannot really help other characters other than Grimmjow, whereas Aizen still has that universal factor. He's still the only thing on thrust, or on spirit and on slash that is making it work. So he does become a character that is more necessary. If you wanted my opinion of like who in a vacuum is stronger, if you want to talk B4, B6 and stuff like that, I think it probably still goes something like this, or actually like something like this probably, right? But yeah, that's just not where we are. That's just not what we're talking about. So move these back and let's get a snapshot of the list in total. There we are. I added the B0 to B2 so it's more obvious. Especially it'll help be a visual aid on screen as we go forward, since this saves to the site. But yeah, there we go. B0 to B2. I think this is how I'm feeling. You can let me know how you feel. I think, like I said, this could end up being one of my more negative lists. But yeah, I don't know. Mayuri is like literally, he's the guy. For a while, I think people are not used to when things change. For a while, Aizen was the guy because he worked everywhere. But Mayuri has such a completely dominant presence on the metagame right now, on the quote-unquote metagame with the strike team and the thrust team, that at B0 and B2, you know, before you can do things like solo DPS Aizen, that it's like, I don't know how you could really argue that Mayuri isn't like the most important support in the game right now. He really is. He really is. He really is. He really, really is. And I'm as surprised as anyone to see it. But yeah. With all that being said, though, let's get Grimmjow on the screen. Grimmjow. I've been Lone. Like and like the video. Subscribe to the club. We'll go make it. And peace.